Good morning, traders. So how do we trade the DAX this morning? Now, let's just get to the weekly. If we have a look at the weekly, you'll see we've had a rejection off the alligator, and the alligator is pointing to the downside. So that is a fairly bearish signal that we've got here on the weekly. Okay, nothing really to read into the awesome oscillator, and our oscillator at the bottom here is pretty much in oversold territory, so nothing really to read into that either. And if we just have a quick look at the daily, you'll see we turned off a level being the 200-day moving average, and we've broken back through the alligator, and the alligator is pointing back to the downside. So this is all looking very bearish at the moment on the higher time frames. If we drill down to the lower time frames, you'll see we tend to move. So we move down, and then what we do is we consolidate, and then we move down, and then we see this one, I leave that one there, and then we consolidate again. Okay, so you would expect some more of the same to take place today, but we do have a potential double bottom here, and we also don't really have any diversion. So nothing really standing out for me that we are coming to an end. This may be the beginning of a double bottom on the oscillators, and no diversion, so there's nothing really to write home about here. What I would expect us to take place at the moment would be another move to the downside, and let's just pick up that level to see what is there. Okay, we do have a previous breakout here. Okay, so I hope you saw how I got that. So essentially, you have a consolidation, a break of a consolidation, and then another consolidation. So normally the move from there to there is what your measured move is. Okay, so it's from there to there. This measured move here hasn't played out yet either, which pretty much brings us to that area there. Okay, so you can just line it up with that tail. So it's this previous breakout followed by this previous breakout. Okay, so those are my downside targets at the moment. So we're sitting with a downside target of 12,268 and 12,251. Okay, so those are the downside targets I'm looking at. In other words, I'm still expecting us to get some form of a downside move. The only thing that's going to change my mind is I don't think we need to take it off at 12. We're going to need to do this. And you can see how price is coming back to test these previous breakouts. Okay, so for me to change my mind that the trend is up and not down at the moment, we're pretty much going to have to get above this level of 12,400. Okay, so for now, I would expect us to, we're probably going to gap down ever so slightly, I would assume, if I just look at Asia at the moment. So the DAX futures at the moment is 12,332. 12,332, which is pretty much right where we closed off on Friday. Okay, so I would expect us to either rally a little bit more and then start moving to the downside. Okay, just bear in mind today is a public holiday in the States, so more than likely we're going to have a very slow day. But yeah, I think for the DAX at the moment, everything is looking very bearish. And if I look at the 4-hour, you can see we do have alligator pointing to the downside. we are oversold quite extensively on the 4 hour. So there are two scenarios here, basically. So the first one, and I think let's get that from there to there, and then there. Okay, so the first one on the 4 hour is a break of this wedge. Okay, now that could indicate a move back to the upside, or it could just simply be a retest of the breakout. So the breakout of the alligator here, because we haven't really tested it, so we can see how we've broken through on this bar here, but we haven't tested that break. So that's the one scenario. And the other scenario is that this just turns into a range like that. You see, I've taken it off that tail and this tail and the top tails, and then that would be the range. Now, to me, sorry, not the range, it's channel. So, to me, this is what is transpiring. We are channeling to the downside, and we are in a pretty significant Fibonacci zone between the 50 and the 61.8. So, basically, anything can happen here. Okay. So let's just have a look. So yeah, so I'm still expecting downside. So I would expect us to probably come and test this breakout. I'm going to delete all the noise here so we can look at this logically. So our breakout sits there. So there's a couple of breakouts, but that is pretty much our breakout. So I would expect us to rally back into the 12,360 area before sort of consolidating a bit and then moving to the downside. So what you want to do is focus on the 12 minute, and you can see how the 12 minute has come together here. So the alligator has come together, and momentum is to the upside at the moment, but you can see earlier on Friday how the momentum was to the upside before we sold off back to the downside. So this is kind of what you're expecting. You're looking for, at this stage, you're going to need a break above this zone of 12,360. So this 12,360 area, if you can get a break above it, we may get some upside. And for me, it's really going to be about watching the alligator on the 12 minute and then on the 30 minute. For as long as we're staying below the blue line here on the 30 minute, we are trending to the downside. Okay, and the other thing to do is just tighten up on your channel line, your trend lines, and you can see on the half hour we have a very well defined wedge here. 1, 2, 3 touches at the bottom, 2 on the top, so that gives me 5 touches. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and now we're busy with the fifth move. So for me at the moment, as I say, I'm expecting some more downside, but a little bit wary on the downside. So that would be my first level there, and that would be my second level. And then we also have a gap here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have pretty much 2 gaps. Okay, so this is the actual market close gap, which is 12,200, and this is the futures market gap close, which is 12,230. Okay, so I'm expecting us to move a little bit more to the downside, but just being very wary because of this wedge. So this wedge, if it does play out, there is some fairly significance. Otherwise, as I pointed out, we are looking at a channel. Okay, so at this stage, if we break this trend to the upside, it's a wedge. If we bounce off here and start moving back to the downside, then discount this as a wedge and just look at it as a channel. And then you're looking for support somewhere between 12,200 and 12,265. Okay, so that's my take on this at the moment. So I'm expecting more downside this morning, and then probably a little bit of a consolidation before a move to the upside. Alternatively, we could end up with a break of this wedge this morning, and what I'll be looking for is on the 12-minute to see where we are in relation to the alligator. So if we can break above this and stay above the alligator, then it's longs, and just take your, you need to look for your profit early. So profit's going to be around 12,400 area, and then a stretch target of 12,430, okay, which is the 200 moving average on the 30-minute. So that's kind of my take on this at the moment. I'm expecting more downside, and watching these two trend lines with interest, because if we break this trend line, then it gives me confidence that we're in a channel, and I can look for the bottom of the channel, which is around this area here of 12,200. Okay, so that's a fairly significant 100-point trade to the downside still that I'm expecting today. Okay, all bets are off if we break this and this becomes a wedge to the upside. So if we break, come back, retest, and it holds, and that'll line up with the alligator. So it'll be a break to the upside, a pullback, test of the break of the trend line, test the break of the alligator, and then a rally. And you can expect profit taking around 12,410 and 12,430. Okay, so that's kind of my take on it today. It's really going to be a case of watching price action on the 12-minute to see what transpires. But with the US public holiday today, expect a quick move in the morning and then nothing for the rest of the day. Okay, so hope it helps. Enjoy your day, and I will catch you guys later. Cheers, man.